What do you think about where we stand right now? First of all, are these executive orders legal? Will they be challenged? And just in terms of getting the two sides together, are we further apart or closer together?
Yeah, I think the executive orders, and you've seen the confusion even around the effectiveness that they may have from the ones he announced on Saturday. So talking about tax cuts that are really for Congress to do, I think the pressure, we've got 84 days to election. Democrats seem to be very confident about maintaining the House. Republicans have concern about the Senate. There's got to be a deal done. And I think all parties believe that, both because of the pain out there in the country, but for raw politics. And I think the president, all of these statements, all of these supposed actions around executive orders, they begin to get very weak as far as their effectiveness, at least for politics in the next 84 days. I think the president needs to probably have a chance to have checks sent to the American people again with his name on them, like happened in the spring. And that will give people some confidence and politically will probably be helpful to him. So I think there's enormous pressure to get something done, and there is time to get something done. I think Secretary Mnuchin telegraphed that the other day.
What you're talking about was the $1,200 that was sent out to Americans making under a certain amount of money that went to the majority of the country. Right. That can't be done by executive action or executive order. You think that it will be part of some?
I absolutely believe
that will be something that actually.
Sorry, Becky.
Okay, so that's why you think both sides will come together.
I think
it just seems like in the last. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
I think that and other reasons. You've got a lot of relief that's needed in different industries. You've talked about it repeatedly on your show over the last number of weeks and months. So I think there's a pressure building that something has to happen, both from an economic point of view and also from a political point of view. And that will come together in some resolution, in my opinion, over the next number of weeks.
Brian Sullivan, do you see any chance that in the next 10 years, middle-class tax rates cannot not go up? They have to go up to pay this bill, do they not?
I don't think there's any question at some point we're going to have to pay the piper, as they say. Now, we've been kicking this deficit and the issues. Some people believe that inflation would come roaring back. It hasn't. Interest rates are going to stay low. Brian, your 10-year window, I think it's pretty hard to imagine in that period there won't have to be some sort of increased revenue, tax increases on a very large chunk of American people in order to replenish what has been lost in this economic crisis and then get a stimulus going. The government and the Congress did come together in the spring for trillions of dollars of relief, but this is a longer period than I think anybody thought when we did this and when they did that in the spring. We all were somewhat optimistic that this will end at some point relatively soon. It looks like this is going to be a long-term situation, and the political system has a hard time dealing with long-term problems. They can deal with a short-term fairly successfully, but long-term it has a very difficult way of getting to that resolution.
Okay, so on the follow-up, Bill, we know that taxes, to your point then, probably will need to go up to pay for this, but income tax hikes are very hard to sell politically. Let's be clear. The folks who are in charge now aren't going to be in charge in 20 years. Most of them are in their 60s and 70s already. So do you foresee the possibility of a national sales tax, a VAT, like Europe, as a way to get this bill paid?
Brian, lots of people for many, many years, as you know, have kicked that around as a real solution to our problems. It doesn't seem to ever get real traction. At some point, when you look at the different options, I think some version of that should be seriously considered. Now, how do we seriously consider policy issues anymore in the way we're so divided in our politics? But I think it has to be on the table, as I think over time, based upon the difficulty we're going through and the need for some change. I absolutely believe the sales tax issue ought to be on the table. And as you put out, a 10-year period, if we can't come to some resolution of our long-term fiscal issues at some point in that, especially in that period, then the future is not very bright for a lot of our grandkids and their kids.